Hello everyone, welcome to the IAS Mentor Ancient History series. We are in Gupta Empire. In this session, we are going to understand how the administration of the Gupta Empire was there. Nowadays, even in prelims also, some terms related to administration, they are frequently asked. Let us try to understand how the administration of Guptas was conducted. Already we know that when it comes to Mauryan administration, what is the nature of Mauryan administration? Was it centralized or decentralized? The Mauryan administration was centralized one. Who was the greatest statecraft person, or simply who was the greatest advisor of Chandragupta Maurya? Kautilya. His book Ardhashastra. That book has given so many details about how to administer a state. He has given Saptanga theory also. He has mentioned many things which a ruler has to follow. From Ardhashastra till Guptas, so many books were written on the statecraft. Many smritis emerged like Manusmriti, Narada Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti. They are all like giving the views, giving direction to the state administration. When it comes to Guptas, the main texts which they were dependent on, including Ardhashastra and many Smritis, Manusmriti. Collectively, they are called Dharma Shastras. Dharma Shastras. Now, Guptas means we are in 320. This is the beginning of Gupta era. 550 CE. Already by Gupta time period itself, Indians had enough experience in administering different kingdoms. Some may be small, some may be big. Already Mauryans ruled pan-India empire. Already they have shown the history. They have shown to the future generation that how to rule this vast country. That is why Guptas are going to take the experience from Kushanas. Why Kushanas? Because they were the feudatories of Kushanas initially. Guptas were feudatories of Kushanas initially. Later, they declared independence and they started emerging as most powerful dynasty in Indian subcontinent. Kushanas. And before that, Mauryans. And before that, Vedic period. Already experience is there. Now, with this experience, they are going to administer. When it comes to the capital, Kaushambi or Prayagraj nearby. This is one important center. Pataliputra, Ujjain, Prayagraj, Kaushambi, these are nearby places. Pataliputra, traditionally Pataliputra was the capital of Mauryans Magadha Empire. Now gradually the power is shifting towards Kaushambi region. Now Ujjain is also becoming very powerful center. Since Shunga period itself, Ujjain was one of the important centers. Even Shungas had Ujjain as the capital. Now for Guptas also Ujjain is the second capital. Now this was the region, Vakatakas. Directly under their control. Deccan or south. They have to administer this. They have to protect the boundaries. Protect the boundaries. Due to post-Mauryan polity. What is the nature of post-Mauryan polity? Decentralized. Decentralized. Was there any unique dynasty which ruled entire Indian subcontinent post-Mauryan? No. Kushanas, Shakas, Shatavahanas, many dynasties? Now that tradition is continuing, as a result, many feudal lords emerged. That means if a ruler want to rule entire India, now that ruler had to take the consent of so many feudal lords. Samudragupta tried to expand as much empire as possible. Even he also had to follow an approach, conciliatory approach towards southern kingdoms by giving them the rulers, the kingdoms back to them. Only they have to follow or they have to pay the tribute. But when it comes to day-to-day affairs, those kings can continue to rule. Now you see this. As a sovereign monarch, they have to accept Samudragupta as their emperor. But in day-to-day administration, Samudragupta is not going to appoint so many officials in deep south and rule from capital. No, he was not doing that. He allowed them autonomy. But only they have to accept the real master of them, Samudragupta. Now, why it is happening? Because the tradition of decentralized nature continuously going on. Even when Guptas created empire also, they had to take this fact into cognizance. Accordingly, they followed a pragmatic approach. According to that pragmatic approach, in Gangetic Valley, they ruled. In Gangetic Valley, they had direct control, but beyond that, they were dependent on different feudatories. Even within these territories also, they were depending on many feudal lords. This is the first fact we have to keep in mind when it comes to differences between Gupta Empire and Mauryan period. Whereas, whatever sources, what we are reading, like Ardhashastra and Megasthenes Indica, they are all indicating that Mauryan Empire seems very centralized one. Pataliputra was directly ruling entire India. That is what the existing evidence is proving. But when it comes to Gupta administration, it is not as centralized as Mauryans, but decentralized elements were also there. This is the first element which we need to keep in mind when it comes to Gupta administration. More centralized means who? Either Mauryans or Guptas means Mauryans. Guptas accommodated various feudal lords and it was following decentralized approach. Keep in mind this one. Now, what is the source of law? Source of law. Source of law means, like today, what is the source of authority? For president, for prime minister, for a judiciary, for parliament? Constitution of India. That is the book. When it comes to these people, that source of law, Dharma Shastras. So many Dharma Shastras by this time developed, like Manusmriti, Narada Smriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, and so on. By this time period, they developed already experience of Ardhashastra, Ramayana, Mahabharata in Vedic period. Ramayana, Mahabharata also have the episodes of administration. They take inspiration from them. They take inspiration from that Ardhashastra inspiration, and they all also. Like Constitution of India, these are all the sources of guiding administration. Now, kings were taking many titles. Now, these titles, they themselves are indicating that it is not that the Gupta rulers were complete monarchs, complete sovereign. They were having so many lesser kings or feudal kings. Now, this is how the titles like Parameshwara, or Maharajadi Raja, Maharajadi Raja, Parameshwara. Identify this one. Paramabhattaraka, Parama, Parama Daivata. Identify this one. Now, what is happening here? Raja means now a small Raja. Ashoka, he ruled entire India. Do you know what is the title taken by Ashoka? Raja only. Raja Ashoka. At that point of time, Raja means entire India monarch, but now Raja means a very small king. Rajadi Raja means king of the kings. Maharajadi Raja, great king of kings. So this itself is an indication that now the administration is now ruled by so many small rajas, many raja, and there will be one emperor at the top. That is one. Parameshwara, Parama Bhattaraka, and Paramadaivata. They all indicating that now rulers are now as powerful as gods. That is why they were now being compared with Vishnu. Kings were now seen as the avatar of Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, like that Lord avatar of Lord Vishnu. They were seen like when it comes to judgment, Lord Yama. Yama is known for judgment. King is seen as Yama. When it comes to protection, king is seen as Lord Vishnu. Likewise, king is seen as Indra. So simply now gods have become very powerful. They are now equated with gods also. That is why god-like qualities, people, even Manusmriti says, even if the king is very kid, small child, even just born kid also, still people have to respect the king, because king is the manifestation of the god on the earth. Divine rights theory. Divine rights. A single family is now got the divine mandate that to rule the country, they got the divine rights. Now you see how it is emerging. This is called absolute monarchy. Absolute monarch. The ruler, whoever is ruling, they used to consider themselves as very powerful. They are like having god-like qualities. Whatever they tell, whatever they do, no one should question. When it comes to, do you remember when it comes to Vedic period, early Vedic period, there were so many assemblies like Sabha, Samiti, Vidata. These were the assemblies, popular assemblies. That means the common people are participating in the administration or the political life. Now there is nothing like that. Now, by this time period, monarchs have become so powerful. By Mauryan time period itself, this is the situation. Now, by this time period, this power has even become very, very powerful. Likewise, now these are like divine rights theory. Law of primogeniture. Law of primogeniture. That means eldest son. Eldest son naturally become the next successor to any king. It gives some kind of a principle, a rule that if after the death of a ruler, then automatically this throne goes to the eldest son. Otherwise, unnecessarily, continuously conflicts used to happen. That is why it gave some kind of idea, some stability that bureaucrats, ministers, they have some idea that after this ruler, who is going to be the next king. But it is not always smooth. Sometimes even wars used to happen for the throne. Within the family of Guptas also, brothers only were fighting for the throne. So there were fighting between brothers. Devi Chandraguptam. There is a book called Devi Chandraguptam written by Vishaka Datta, mentioned or highlighted the fight between two brothers. That is how, when it comes to the throne, even brothers used to kill each other. Ashoka also, if we believe the Buddhist legend, Ashoka killed 99 of his brothers. In the similar fashion, this time also, brothers' disputes also sometimes happen. People were fighting. That shows kingship knows no kinship. Identify this one. What is the source of law? Many smritis or dharma shastras. Then law of primogeniture, divine rights theory, hereditary monarch. So this is what hereditary monarch. At the king level, this is the administration. Gupta rulers were very powerful. They were following these kind of principles. Next one. When it comes to officers or bureaucrats, bureaucracy or ministers, all kinds of ministers were there. Finance minister, war minister, peace minister, correspondence minister, all sorts. From Allahabad Prayag inscription, Allahabad inscription or Prayagraj inscription, who had issued? Harisena, his court poet. Samudragupta's court poet Harisena, his inscription mentions Mahadandanayaka. Mahadandanayaka is a chief judicial officer. Is a chief judicial officer. Mahadandanayaka. Another one, Mahasandhi Vigraha. Mahasandhi Vigrahika. Same person. Harisena. Court poet. He has issued Sanskrit inscription which praised Samudragupta's conquests. One example here is how Harisena's family member, he is one of the family members of the ministers. That means a minister, after the minister, once again, their sons are becoming the next ministers. And also same minister is holding multiple portfolios. Same person only holding portfolios. This is Minister for War and Peace. Minister for War and Peace. Judicial officer, judge also. Minister for War and Peace. Multiple, same person was holding multiple offices. This kind of tradition was also there. Next one. When it comes to division of the empire, empire divided into bhuktis. Bhuktis were headed by Uparika. They were divided into Vishayas, headed by Vishayapati. They were divided by Gramas, Gramika. Vishaya, Vishayapati, head of the Vishayas. Uparika, Bhuktis, and Grama. They are like a village, district, province, and so on. In this manner, they were there. So, Bhukti, province, Vishaya, district, Grama, village. Likewise, different officers were there. Provinces were divided into like this. Feudal lords were there. Feudal lords were given autonomy also. In their own territories, they can follow their own administration. Next one. Judicial system. Judicial system evolved by this time. Dharma Shastras were the source of judgments based on Varna judgment. That means upper class privileged, lower Varna more punishments, more punishments. And with respect to women also, property rights limited. And it is very interesting element here is so many Dharma Shastras are there. So many Dharma Shastras, and these Dharma Shastras sometimes often contradict with each other. One Dharma Shastra say women must be given full rights over property, and some Dharma Shastra says that should not be the case. That is why sometimes it became a challenge for the scholars and historians. What was the exact nature of judiciary of Guptas? Because of the multiple interpretations, multiple variations, maybe it depends on the final judgment, depend on the ruler. Whatever ruler decides, that is going to be the final judgment. That is how. Now, when it comes to revenue taxation, revenue collection, bhaga, generally 1/6 of the produce was collected as the tax from the peasants. Same collected with artisans also. Sometimes artisans have to give their labor as the tax. Forced labor, vishti. That is the one. When it comes to vishti, that is the name of the forced labor artisans have to give. Traders have to pay customs duties. This is how different taxes were collected. Revenue was going to the central treasury. But when it comes to feudal lords, they were having their own administration revenue collecting mechanism. Wherever centralized administration was there, this is how the administration was going on. As part of salaries, coin or cash, they were paying, and land grants also given as part of salary. Now, suppose if there is a forest area, a ruler wanted to rule this area, he appoint a minister. Sometimes Brahmanas were given the authority to administer this area, and they were given land grant of this area. Now, Brahmanas will get land grants in this area. Now, these land grants are like salaries of those officials. Now, once they get land grants, this provision gradually made many tribal people integrate with the mainstream society. That is how, when it comes to land grants also, they were giving as part of salaries. In this manner, they have done. And when it comes to military also, they have maintained very large military. At the same time, they were dependent on feudal military also, like chariots, horses, cavalry, horses, infantry, foot soldiers. These are the basic elements, basic military wings they were promoting. That is how administration was there when it comes to Guptas. This kind of administration can be maintained only when the rulers were very powerful. If the rulers were weak, what will happen? Rulers cannot pool the resources from the feudal lords. Whenever invasion takes place, if ruler wants military from many feudal lords, if rulers are not strong, they cannot get the military on time, damage will take place near the invasion place. That is why after Skandagupta, the rulers were weak. When Huna invasions were continuously happening, they were not able to protect the Khyber Pass. As a result, it led to disintegration of Gupta Empire. All right. They were also welfare oriented. They even patronized. Scholars. Chandragupta too patronized Navaratnas. Like lakes were repaired. Welfare policies. They were concentrating for the welfare of the people like Ashoka time period. One evidence is Skandagupta. He repaired the lake of Sudarshana lake. That is one example to show that they are concerned about welfare of the people also. They were also patronizing great scholars. In the court of Chandragupta too, there were 9 gems called Navaratnas. So this is how the administration, welfare oriented also, patronizing arts and art and culture as well. So welfare state as well as cultural state. Sanskrit was patronized, and because of this, it reached classical status. Classical stage. Sanskrit evolved to the classical stage during their time period. Overall, this is how the administration of Guptas. All right. So remember this. When it comes to Mauryans and Guptas, the chief difference is Mauryans were centralized. So many officers were there. When it comes to Guptas, combination of centralized as well as decentralized elements. This is the basic difference between Mauryans and Guptas. All right. However, Guptas did their best to manage this much big empire. All right. This is how the administration of Guptas was there. Thank you. Thank you very much.